Good evening, good evening, good evening, and welcome to Couch Conversations where health is wealth. What night is it tonight? It is Monday night. It is time for Couch Conversations with the doctors. So, as always, we're going to go around and introduce our esteemed panel guests who are here with us on this evening. And we're going to talk about health being wealth. Remember, this broadcast is for educational purposes only. We do like to remind all of our viewers not to use your emergency rooms as your primary care physicians, and to create a relationship with the physician so you too can have the same conversation that the congressman teaches us, that your true wealth is your health. Starting with Dr. Miller. Dr. Miller is the man who says I threaten him to be here every Monday night, but he is always here on time. Dr. Miller.
Good evening. Good evening. Thanks, Nikki and Congressman Davis, for having this platform, giving us an opportunity to address our community and to address issues that affect our communities. I am a retired internist. I retired in 2019. And though I don't practice clinical medicine from a standpoint of taking care of patients personally, I am still very interested and very concerned about the health care of our community. So I do what in my retirement, I still am involved and concerned about healthcare issues and trying to educate and trying to inform the community about things that we all should be concerned about and about just things that the individual has to become aware of as much as I can deal with those things, as well as using my years of experience in patient care to just keep kind of renewing the information and passing it on, because the one person that's with you 24/7 is you, and it's you having that information that empowers you to be able to take care and provide the care that you need. So that's my story.
Outstanding. I want to say hey to Linda Johnson, who is here with us, who's checking in. Well, to my colleague who tends to leave and go and have fun in the sun, that's our very own Dr. Douglas Graham. Dr. Graham.
Well, thank you, Nikki. And after hearing the stories about the cold, I think I'm going to stick with my game plan. Like Dr. Miller, I retired in 2019, but following my retirement, I went to spend 2 years in Washington, D.C., working in Danny Davis's office, and it was a real eye-opener. I've now become interested in public health and public policy, and I'm going to do my very best to answer your questions as best I can. It's a very real honor and pleasure to be here.
Outstanding, and thank you. Well, to the guy who has the best art there is, I call him an art connoisseur. That's our very own Joseph Harrington. Joe?
Hi, Nikki, and thank you, Congressman Davis and Nikki, for providing this platform. My name, as Nikki said, is Joe Harrington. I've worked in a number of fields, mental health education, but mostly healthcare and public health. I worked at 3 hospitals and worked for the city and state health department. I retired in 2017 from the Illinois Department of Public Health as the regional health officer for Cook County and an administrative law judge. Nikki has frozen, so maybe Nikki might want to introduce herself, and then Congressman Davis can take us into the topic.
My name is Nikki Glass. I am very thankful to be on the couch with you guys today, remotely. Sharing my story as a heart transplant patient. I also am a survivor of a SCAD, so I'll explain that a little more in detail when that comes to me. But all about heart health, I do a lot with the American Heart Association. So happy to be here with you guys today.
And of course, I'm Danny Davis, and I want to welcome Miss Glass, my mother's maiden name, Glass. So who knows? We may be related. I got a lot of glasses in my family. I mean, just eons of them. Almost everywhere I go, I run into.
I'm married into that, so I'm formerly a Jackson, but I'm sure we're all related at some point.
At some point, I mean, I got a bunch of them. They just all over the place. Wonderful people, and I really did not know most of them. But They come from Mississippi and places like that. But at any rate, welcome to our conversation, couch chat with the doctors. And it just happens that I just made an appointment today to see my cardiologist. And I got to wait a good little while before I can get one. And I wasn't making one because I had any feeling of anything other than the fact that I haven't seen a cardiologist in a while. And the last one that I saw is not still with us. And I just figured that I needed to see the cardiologist. So I'm looking forward to it. But welcome and thank you so much for being with us.
Well, want to say good evening to Audrey Jaycox, who is here. She says good evening to everyone. Charles Bowen is here with us, and he says good evening to everyone just as well. Well, we had a question which got a lot of traction talking about the weather and our skin. So I'm going to ask if some of our doctors can kind of go over that really quickly. And the question is, what happens with our largest organ in this weather? So when it gets really cold out, people are complaining of having nosebleeds and flare-ups of eczema and problems with itching at night once they remove all the layers of clothing. What is that, and what do we do about it? Charles Bourne Jr., that is. Absolutely, I got you. What is that? What is that all about, Dr. Miller? What happens to our body?
Well, I think that we got to remember, what is the purpose of the skin? The skin is, as you said, the largest organ system part of our body. But the skin is responsible for doing quite a few things. One of those things is it responds to changes in the environment temperature, because it is also responsible for helping to regulate the temperature and helping the body. It's the system that also first recognizes that there is a change in the temperature. So your skin is going to feel these changes first, and it responds by notifying the brain and through the neurological system, and allowing your total body to get into activity with that. The brain says it's cold out here, you're not properly dressed, go inside. And so these are part of it. But yeah, we do see changes. Obviously, if we're out in the cold for too long a period of time and we're not properly covered, we'll see changes in the color of our skin. Because again, that's the response is to help to protect the whole body. So we'll see changes within the blood vessels in the skin. They will contract to try to, again, hold the temperature at a level that your body can tolerate. So when we're exposed to cold weather, we will see those changes. Other things that do occur is that when it's hot, people tend to drink more water. When it's cold, people sort of back up off of the water. They don't feel as thirsty. They're not perspiring as much. And so the skin will tend to get a little drier. And as we probably all noticed that, when you take a shower or a bath, or that your skin look drier more so in the winter months than it does in the summer months, because again, during the time when it's hot, you're perspiring, and so you are moisturizing your skin a lot more. But in the winter months when it's cold, we don't see that same kind of thing that's occurring. And so the skin does respond to that. And it's trying to maintain the moisture that the body needs and the water that the body needs. And it does give you indication that there's something going on that you need to address. And so when the skin is dry, it tends to itch. And so you might find you take off your clothes, you've been cold, or you've been outside for a significant portion of the day. You might not have been drinking water because, again, you're trying to get to where you're trying to go, and you're not really trying to, your routine may be different. So these are responses that you are seeing from your body in response to the changes of your behavior, in terms of what you feed in your body, in terms of making certain that your hydration is well done. So these are just changes again that that's saying to you that there's something that's different and you need to look and address that. And most of the time we know that we need a little more lotion to. That's pretty much a situation of us doing what it does to make us look better. But the fact is that it's telling you that internally there are changes that are going on as well, and we need to address those changes.
Outstanding, Dr. Miller. Well, we want to say hi to Rosetta Guy, who's here with us. She says, good evening to everyone. And Bill Glass is here just as well. And he says, good evening to the panel. Well, Dr. Miller, what causes the nosebleeds?
Well, again, dryness within the mucosa. We get, so in the nose, I mean, you're breathing in this cold air. And breathing that in makes the mucosa dry. And so just like other areas of the skin, I don't know, people also notice that a lot of times, in areas where either there's something tight on the skin, like around where if you got socks with elasticity in an area, or just other pressure points, we might notice the skin look irritated. But it's due to the dryness. We inhale the cold air, it dries us out. And so, our body probably not as moist because we're not drinking as much water. So generally, we address that. I usually tell patients that, when it's dry, if you're going to be out in the cold, if you either cover your face with a mask or something like that, that kind of help. Other things is maybe adding a little petroleum, Vaseline or something to the mucosa will also help to protect the mucosa in your nostril, and it will help decrease the amount of nose bleeding that you suffer.
Outstanding. Well, Yolanda Williams is here and she says, good evening to all. Pat Drummond is here and she says, good evening. Patrick Lee Palmer is here and he says, good evening just as well. Dwayne Smith is here and he says, good evening to everyone. Hey, Josie Ware is here. Our coworker Josie Ware is here. Hey, Josie, we see you. Thanks for checking in. Janice Henry is here and she says, hello to everyone just as well. Dr. Marvin Jackson is here. And he says, thank you for telling patients to put just a little Vaseline in the nose. It really works wonders. So thank you, Dr. Jackson, for sharing that. Yes.
I just wanted to build off of some things that Dr. Miller said, and maybe from a lay standpoint. One of the things that it's important for people to understand, your circulatory system, that's a system that manages the flow of blood throughout the body. What happens in cold weather, the blood vessels constrict. That means they get smaller. And as soon as you walk outside, the blood vessels, particularly in the hands, the feet, the area of the brain, they're very small blood vessels. I mean, when I say small, they're microscopic. And so those tend to get cold and narrow. And so that causes a lot of problems as well. And it could cause people with heart disease some very real problems because you don't get the same kind of blood flow as soon as you're exposed to cold weather as you do normally. And so people that have hypertension and people that have diabetes or other chronic conditions, they could be at risk. So they really need to take care, make sure that they wear gloves on their hand. They may want to wear some extra socks, but the things that are furthest away from the heart, which is almost in the middle of the body, are the ones that have the most problems. So you want to protect your head, your hands, your feet. Those are the things that are furthest away from your heart.
Outstanding.
Let me just add a little bit to that, Nikki, and as Joe mentioned, if you have heart condition, when you're out in the cold, the heart has to work a little bit harder. As he said, we do get the constriction of the blood vessels, which means that the force or the pressure that the heart has to work against increases. So the heart has to do a little more work. And so if you do happen to have a condition, problem with your heart, a lot of people who suffer from angina, which is pain because of inadequate blood supply to the heart, the need not being met. So when you're out in the cold, that put that extra work, and the heart has to work harder. So those are other things that people who have certain conditions, like, we also tell you this when it's extremely hot, that you should probably avoid as much as possible from being outside. But being cold, the same thing. Extreme cold weather, when you step outside, if you do have heart conditions, you are going to put some extra stress on your heart. So you have to be careful in those situations.
Outstanding. So, want to say hello to radio personality Al Greer. That's Al Greer with Bedtime Stories. He's here watching us just as well. Want to say hey to Angela Underwood. Angela Underwood says, good evening to everyone. Bonnie Schmitley is here. And she says hello to everyone. Hey, Sister Bonnie, how are you? Nellie Purnell King is here, and she says hello and good evening to everyone just as well. Thank you, Miss Nellie, for being here. Judge Marianne Jackson is here, and we're saying good evening to her just as well. Connie Taylor is here, and she's saying we're saying good evening to her. Jack Orloff is here, and so is my good friend and sister. That's Jackie Robinson Ivy. Jackie is here with us just as well, and we're saying good evening to her. She says, good evening, Congressman Davis and panel. That's what Jackie Robinson Ivy is saying. So thank you, Jackie, so very much for being here with us on this evening. Mayor Booker, the mayor of Maywood. Mayor Booker's here. That's Nathaniel Booker here is here with us just as well. And the mayor of Bellwood is here with us. That's Andre Harvey. Hey, cuz, as everybody says, how are you? Thank you for being here on this evening, and thank you for listening to us. Renelle Perry, I want to say hey to Renelle. Hey, Renelle Perry, how are you? And Carl Brinson, that's the president of the West Side branch of the NAACP. He is listening in just as well. The men in the garage are here with us, and they says that we're not in the garage. We've been in the basement through the summer, but we are here. We do not want to be known as the men in the basement. We are still the men in the garage. We just took it inside to the basement. So hey to the men that's in the garage. Thank you so much for being here. And of course, our friends over at the Core Center are here with us just as well. Want to say hey to them, and we want to say hey to Engine Company 22, the Chicago Fire Department, who is here with us just as well. So we have one additional question that I'm going to throw out here, and then we're going to go to our special guest. The young lady says, I've had eczema all my life, even as a child. However, as an adult, I could control it better. But in the cold weather, I have such a problem. Is there a special type of lubricant that I can use on my skin outside of the medicated creams that could help? So Dr. Graham or Dr. Miller, any suggestions?
New dip.
So, Nikki, I'd love to answer that, but I don't have a lot of training in dermatology and eczema. But I think that there's some things that are available over the counter that might help, like coconut oil, shea butter, and aloe vera.
Yeah.
Outstanding. Well, she got it because she's text. She sent back, thank you. So thank you so much. Bridget Campbell is here, and she says good evening to everyone. And the girls over at DLV Printing, who said they're still at work, but they stopped to watch Couch Conversations. So thank you guys so much for being here. Want to say hey to Fatima. That's Fatima. Fatima is here with us just as well, saying good evening to the congressman, and she wants to make sure that he knows that she is here. Well, as you all know, February is Go Red. And on Friday, that's Friday, every first Friday of February of the year, it is Healthy Heart Month, Go Red. We're asking everyone to go red for heart disease, awareness of heart disease, and awareness of stroke in women. So we have an awesome guest here on today, and her name is Nikki just as well. Nikki Glass, who's going to share with us her story. And if you have any questions, she's open to asking those. So Nikki, take it away.
Good afternoon or good evening, everyone. I'm so used to being at work and being on these types of calls, so got lost in the time over here. I am Nikki Glass. I am going to share with you my experience with heart disease and all of that fun stuff. So let me first start out by saying this started to affect me at age 37. You can't see my full body, but my original makeup is a slim young woman. I was active, had 3 children, no sign of heart disease. We'll give that as a caveat for right now. I woke up one morning in the middle of the night with pain in my chest, which felt uncomfortable, more like a gas bubble, what I thought it was. So, okay, let me move around and get that out of the way. Fast forward, I blacked out and woke up 4 days later to learn that I had the major artery inside split completely in half. So I had what was called a SCAD, sudden coronary artery dissection, where the artery dissects. So it had already started to dissect into branches. So you can say I was bleeding internally. at that point. They did a triple bypass. We thought all was good and clear. I healed for about 6 months and started. I guess they tell you when you lay down and you can't breathe, if you feel some pressure on your chest, that's what I started to experience. So I went into the hospital to learn that the damage that had been caused. So initially in the beginning, I had 5 heart attacks, flatlined 4 times, and that was in a matter of 3 hours initially. So that's what took place during the SCAD. Due to that damage, 6 months later, I kept retaining fluid in between the lungs and the heart, and my heart no longer was squeezing. So it was regurgitating the blood back inside. From that, I needed a heart transplant. I waited at Northwestern Hospital downtown Chicago for 172 days before I received that heart. Perfect match. I've been great since February 1st, the first day of Heart Month, is my heart birthday. The heart started beating on its own at 12:01 a.m. with no assistance from doctors. So that's pretty much my story in a nutshell. I mean, there's a long, drawn out history, but I gave you guys a fast forwarded version. I am all for Black History Month, but this is also Go Red Month for women because cardiovascular disease is the #1 killer of women. Again, this touched me at 37. I have no pre-existing conditions. It's not hereditary. I wasn't eating poorly. I wasn't stressed. They have no clue. I can honestly say there was nobody in the book that looked like me or that was me. They were calling me the miracle on 5 at that time at the hospital that I was at because there is no way I should have survived what I experienced.
Wow. Such a powerful story and such a blessing to be able to sit here and share. Well, Dr. Miller, you're nodding. Go right ahead.
I was just want to know. So, did they come up with a reason as to why this happened to you, Nikki?
So they gave me some possibilities of what it could be, but there's nothing that they can pinpoint directly. I will say that night was the first night I tried crab legs. They were delicious. That could have been a reason I haven't touched them since, just more of a mental thing. 2 weeks prior, I had the flu, so I was given Tamiflu. They said it could have been that, but there wasn't anything that they could pin it on specifically. I wasn't stressed out. Again, I'm active, so they had no clue.
And they didn't find any kind of disease within the muscles of the heart. There was no disease in your in the heart muscle.
No.
Yeah, I'd like to add, and actually I thought about it as we were talking. There's this concept called, the friend of and colleague of Dr. Mason's mine used to use all the time, and he was a nephrologist. He talked about operating out of a symptom-based paradigm. And so in the absence of symptoms, people generally feel like they're healthy, but just because you don't have symptoms doesn't mean you're healthy. And the story that you tell is a good example of that. You didn't have any symptoms of heart disease. You had a heart problem that let you know that you had a disease. And early in my career, I worked with a cardiologist, and this was in the 80s at the University of Chicago, who went on to work for Ciba Geigy, of all places. But he said there are only 3 symptoms of uncontrolled blood pressure. Those are heart attack, stroke, and kidney failure. Those are end-stage diseases. So the heart really is feeding all those organs. And if those organs don't get a fresh supply of blood over time, there are going to be problems. So in a simple way, that's what happens. And if you have a heart attack, that means that the blood flow is going to be cut off to other areas of the body. And so some of those body parts may not work the same anymore. It's a blessing to hear your story, because you seem to be, and you talk like that you're fully recovered as a result of that. And you were surprised to find out that you had a problem to begin with. So the one thing that we can encourage everyone to do, that everybody should have an annual physical exam, because it's something that's simple to detect, simple to diagnose. And if you do have a problem, they can help you manage it better and maybe prevent the likelihood that something like a heart attack, stroke, or kidney failure will occur. And the reason we see all these dialysis centers in our communities and have increased exponentially is because of our lifestyle and some things we're doing that we should not do.
Yeah. I think
And,
Joe,
you know,
great.
a role of advocacy. When, people ask, this heart day, a heart week, a kidney week, or whatever week, I just thought about the gift of hope. And I've been working with them, I guess, for about 40 years or so. And I've run into so many wonderful experiences that people have had. And one joke that we kind of toss around, there's one church that I know that have transplant Sunday every year. And the pastor asks people who've received an organ to come up and testify. We call it testify. And people who've donated an organ to come up and of course I don't mind mentioning the churches, Jordan Temple and Reverend Richardson is the pastor, and he's had 2 heart transplants and a kidney transplant and is able to function. I also have to think of my good friend Pam Morris, who actually went with us up to Wisconsin and knocked on doors. And Pam, we kind of joked, and they said to Pam, "Now, Pam, you don't really have to knock on any doors. We were actually trying to help somebody get elected." And she said, "I would not have ridden the bus all the way up here to Wisconsin to sit in the bus." And so here's Pam Morris out there knocking on doors, trying to get somebody elected to office. I mean, I don't know if I could have a more precious existence in terms of all the wonderful, unbelievable people that I have interacted with and gotten to know. And those are 2 of my heroes and sheroes. And I do remember we were meeting one night, our health committee, and we were at the University of Illinois. You know how people kind of introduce themselves. And so when it got to Reverend Richardson, he says, "Well, I'm a minister. And of course, I've been married so and so and so and so. And the only woman who's seen me naked or without any clothes on, other than my wife." And everybody got quiet. And everybody trying to figure out what was going on. Where was this guy going? He says, "Dr. So-and-so, my transplant surgeon, said, would you stand up and take a bow?" And so there's been so many wonderful experiences and things, seeing people and the advances that we have made in medicine and health. And no, we haven't found a cure for all of them, but we sure doing much better than we used to be. I always say that's why it is so important that we appropriate money for research so that the research can continue. And so as we can to do the research, then we find treatment modalities, we find things that work. So remember, have a heart day and wear red if you've got it. And if you don't have red, it's Black History Month. You can wear black.
Absolutely. Want to say hey to Pastor Upindo Parker, who is here with us just as well. Terry Winston is here. Hey, Terry, how are you? Deborah Cozy Lane is here. And she says, "Thank you, Congressman, for all of this great information." As also, Winona Redmond is here. Hey, Winona, how are you? Kalila Johnson is here. Hey, Kalila. And Melanie Barnett is here just as well. I want to say hey to Mel. Dr. VJ Pravaka is here with us just as well. Hey, Dr. VJ. Thanks for checking in with us on this evening. Carmen Pitts Gibbs is here, and she says, Miss Glass, we got to give God the glory. Thank you so very much, Carmen, for sharing. Thank you so much. Well, Nikki, I have a question for you.
Okay.
So, what should you had no symptoms, right?
No.
You did not know what was going on. So, what awareness would you bring to young women on today to make sure that they're on top of a situation such as this?
So first, let me say to Dr. Harrington, I'm an anomaly when it comes to every situation, when it comes to the heart. So although you gave some really good information, there's some things that I don't always line up, and there's not always an explanation. I think my purpose for being here is we need to know that God still does miracles, whether you believe in God or not. But I'm a living miracle. I'll accept that and I'll take that. What I'd like to share with other young women is, one, you got to know the signs. If you're someone whether you present as perfectly healthy, or you have some health challenges, one, see your doctor on a regular. Like Dr. Harrington said, do your regular physicals. You should, because I stayed at the doctor. I did that on a regular, but also know the signs. For women, the signs are different than they are for men. So some of the signs might be pain in the chest, like I felt, more discomfort than it was pain for me, but just that discomfort of knowing, lightheadedness, nausea, vomiting. You may experience that, pain in your jaw, your neck, or your back. Discomfort can come in a number of ways. It could be in your shoulder. I think you could be numb on the left side, or some discomfort there. Shortness of breath is also something. So you may not experience every symptom. It may just be one. For me, it was just one of that in an instant. So you never know what you're feeling. Don't self-diagnose yourself. Stay off Google. We're not doctors. Leave that to the guys that have the MD behind their name. Go to the doctor right away. Err on the side of caution. Don't wait till the last minute. Don't wait like, oh, I can just go tomorrow. Nope. Go today. Go right now.
Yeah. Well, I really want to. I think you're making some great points. We on this forum, those are things that we kind of talk about all the time. Is that even if you're feeling as though you're the wellest person on the earth, there are things that may be going on in your body that you have no clue. So it makes perfect good sense to at least spend some time. If your health it should be a very important thing to you, because it is one of the assets that you have that God has given you. But when you lose it, then you have lost one of your greatest benefits. And so it is up to you to protect it and to maintain it and to do what you can and to get the help that you need to make certain that if there is something, that is detected as early as possible. Going to the doctor doesn't always say that it won't keep you from getting disease, but we do know that early detection is helpful in terms of being able to treat and to get a better outcome. If you had not maybe been as involved as you were saying, they didn't figure out what was wrong with you. However, you knew that when something happened, that it was time for you to get in. You didn't put it off. And so had you put it off, then your outcome would have been different. So it is. And so we always try to inform the people in the community that, even if you don't feel anything, make certain that that you, number one, have a relationship with a primary care doctor, and you see that person at least once every year. And, so that you can get the evaluation that you need. There are some things that sometimes, even though you may not have a symptom, test that can be done that we routinely screen for, that sometimes detect diseases that isn't obvious or isn't apparent, but we get clues and we can follow those clues and is able to find out what is going on and to sometimes do some treatment that would be necessary to prevent you from having as much suffering and as being as ill as you otherwise would be. So seeing a physician, so that whenever there is a problem, that it can be detected as early as possible, and that intervention can be undertaken at the earliest of time.
Outstanding. Want to say hey to State Representative LaShawn Ford, who is here with us checking in just as well. He is checking in on this evening, talking about how important heart health is. Also want to say hey to President Carrie Steele, who is checking in with us just as well, and Alderman Pat Dow, who is checking in just as well. Well, Yolanda Williams sent a comment, and Yolanda says, I pray this awesome and necessary panel continues when the congressman retires. This is the best wealth and free information given since COVID. We've learned so much and gotten healthy because of all of you. Well, thank you so much, Yolanda. Thank you so very much for sharing on this evening, and thank you for sharing with us. Well, Congressman, your thoughts?
Well, you know, I was at a rally yesterday. I was so delighted to see about 1,000 people at 3401 West Roosevelt yesterday afternoon. And of course, they were there advocating for the 340B program to be beefed, made better in the state of Illinois. And no matter how much you talk or how much you get the resources that are needed, advocacy still plays a big role.
Mm-hmm.
And advocacy, you know, Black History Month, first open heart surgery, Providence Hospital, African American fella who managed to do it, and to think that we have people in government who want to take money away from historically Black colleges and universities and predominantly Black institutions, and stop people from even celebrating Black History Month and say that it's associated with their job at work. They can't have an event, you know, take a few minutes and just praise people who have done certain stuff. It's hard to imagine that, but that's real.
Mm-hmm.
And that is something that we've got to checkmate every way that we can. And I don't know any way to do it except advocate for knowledge and information. And if people don't know and don't understand, then rather than advancing beyond where we are, we go backwards to where we used to be. And so all of this to me is so valuable. And to hear the number of my colleagues, individuals who are in the practice of making decisions, the fact that Pat Dow, or the fact that the president of the Water Reclamation District, or State Representative LaShawn Ford, or State Representative Omar Williams, that these people are gathering information and understanding that they can use in making these great big decisions that they have to make. Because not only do they have to make decisions about using, but they also figure out how to get the money. Where does it come from? So I want to say right on to all of them, and happy Black History Month as we kick it off with this informative discussion about heart health and taking care of the heart. But you can't get any more Black cardiologists if you ain't got no scholarship money. If you ain't got no grant money. It costs a whole lot of money to go to medical school. So it takes a lot of money to do that. But the question that I raised early when we started relative to what it is that different people use as logic. And I wanted to ask physicians, do you think it matters necessarily what one's prior profession or profession might be before they become decision makers?
Well, also, I don't think it matters that much what your professional training is. However, I think that what is important is that that you understand the needs of the community that you're going to be representing. I think it's important that you have that you identify with that community and that you do have a desire to meet those needs and to improve conditions of the people that are in that community. So I think those are things that uh, um, can be there regardless of whatever it is that you had done prior to that time. But it is important that you show that you have those other qualities. You know, being an expert in one area or being someone who's knowledgeable in one area of things that affect people doesn't in it by itself mean that you're going to be good at representing the people, because you can understand the medical issues that may be in the community, but haven't really spent the time or really have the understanding of what's causing the problem. Because I think that's really, the thing that we have to really look at is oftentimes people address and they name a problem, but the question is, what is the cause? What can we do to eliminate the cause? Because we don't get rid of the problem if we don't eliminate or do something to change the effect of the cause. And so I think that's what's really is more important. Is this person really dedicated to meeting those needs of the people of the community that he or she represent? And are they, have they shown that kind of interest in the things that are going on in the community?
Yeah, I want to pick up on what Dr. Miller just said. I worked at Rush for 10 years, and there was an ongoing debate. And Rush is a medical center, it's a university and a medical center. They train doctors. There was an ongoing controversy about the role of liberal arts education in terms of medicine, because medicine really is talking about and is looking at your technical skill, your ability to diagnose and treat disease. That's what they teach as a science. How do you diagnose? And based upon a diagnosis, how do you treat moving forward? That's what medicine is involved. You could be technically good, but you don't have to be a nice person. And I think that's what's involved in some of what Dr. Miller says. You want a doctor that's not only technically good at what he wants, his profession, whether he's a surgeon or an internist or whatever, want the best to be the person that cares for you. But you also want that person to have some degree of compassion and commitment to helping people. If they lack the ability, if they lack compassion, if they have no commitment, and they're there to earn a good living, they could be technically good, but they may not be the best fit for you. And so I've been lucky to have doctors that have become my friends. So my doctors are my friends. I talk to people that I know. I've gotten to know. If I call them, they'll call me back. And that's what you want. You want to have this relationship. But just like everything in the world, not everything is created equal, and neither are doctors. And you could be technically good, but you might not be a good person, and you might not care that much. And if you're that kind of doctor, that's not the doctor that you want. So be careful when you're selecting a doctor, because that's what you're going to have to do. And make sure that you find someone that you can talk to, and not only that you can talk to, that listens to what you have to say.
Yeah.
Doug, what do you think about that?
Well, say, I still remember the time when I went to medical school and that argument about should there be liberal arts education. And I would say that retrospectively or historically, I don't think that you can produce physicians without a liberal arts education. You can be a research scientist who works with cells in animals, but for the human condition and the variety of symptoms and how people express themselves, you really have to have a much greater understanding of human beings and their emotions to function that way. I was also thinking about baseball. You might be a great first baseman, but you may not be able to play center field because you don't have the same skills. So that just because you went to medical school and graduated means that you could take tests and pass exams. But that doesn't seem to say that every single part of you is capable of doing good things in all circumstances. I mean, sad to say that we human beings, physicians are human beings. We have depression, we have divorce, we have suicide, we have drug addiction, and other unspeakable behaviors because, quite frankly, we're not machines. And some of this is deeply hidden as you go through training. Some of it emerges as you go through training and gets pushed aside. And so I don't necessarily look that is a necessarily all-encompassing stamp of an entire human being. It just says, I've taken tests, I've passed tests, I've achieved in one field. But I, like everyone else, doesn't necessarily think it translates into all fields. And I think that legislation and public policy is an awful lot different than running a lab with dividing cells and rats and monkeys. It's a completely different kettle of fish.
Yeah.
You may be a great anesthesiologist, but on the other hand, you never have to talk to people. That's why you became an anesthesiologist. So I don't necessarily think that that's a uniformly good way of screening out people to serve in public service, unless they have track records showing other evidence of being able to make contributions in their community outside their practice.
Yeah.
I think that's another thing to look for. It can't just be one thing. It's like buying a car. It may be one particular maker that makes a car, but if you read the reviews, there may be problems with the brakes, the steering, all kinds of other things. You just can't depend on one thing to make that decision.
Right.
I happen to believe that when it comes to decision making, that communicators, that people who have an idea and they can process that idea to the point where it becomes what people do, or it becomes what people will agree to, or it becomes what people believe and believe in. And I notice all of these people that we honor and all of these people, somehow or another, they had an idea. I think that Martin Luther King, for example, was able to communicate his ideas and thoughts in such a way that he became known as a great leader. I think Thurgood Marshall was able to communicate the notion that justice ought to be real. And that's what made him such a great lawyer and a leader. And so I guess everybody used something that they gauge. And I think the people who go down historically, there is something that they were able to do some kind of way that caused things to become different as a result of what they were doing. Whether it was Jane Addams, who became a great social worker, you know, and so I just thought that and think that even when we are teaching children, that we're not putting enough logic into our curriculums in school because a lot of illogical
Mhm.
things that don't make sense happen, and people make decisions that are anti themselves as opposed to decisions that are helpful. I'm saying, how do I be a person who is against, let's say I earn maybe 25, $30,000 a year, and I vote for somebody who is against SNAP benefits. Well, certainly economically, I am not making the best economic decision. Now, I may be voting based on something else, but I'm certainly not making the best economic decision for me. And I think we need to begin to double down
Mhm.
on logic being a part, a much greater part of what we teach our children.
Well, outstanding. Christopher is here with us, and Christopher says it's time for a new economic and an impact new economy and an impactful economy. As Mark Lane says, I call it a divine Masonic of the economics, where every person and planet is valued, a regenerative economy for people and planet, where the health of people and the planet is our nation's priority. He also says, brilliant discussion. Thank you all, especially our beloved Congressman Davis, a true American statesman. Thank you, Christopher. Carmen also says, Rush Hospital and Rush Oak Park have a promotion going on a $99 heart CT scan. The aortic ultrasound vascular disease screening is also $49, or the heart CT scan is $49, but the other test is $99. I don't know, Dr. Miller, do you want to give us a little education about the two scans so we'll know the difference?
Yeah. So these are tests that evaluate calcium and cholesterol deposit inside of the vessels of the heart, and to evaluate if there's damage done to the muscles of the heart. So those are tests. When we talk about doing screening tests, oftentimes people will say, well, that with the heart, we may not have any clue or any kind of information that tells us that there's something, that we have diseases in the heart, but that those tests are able to help detect early, before we begin to have symptoms, that there's an abnormality there, that if not treated appropriately, or the cause of the abnormality isn't treated appropriately, that it will progress and will cause you to end up with damage to your heart. I mean, I think the big thing that we want to make certain that people understand is prevention. You know, if you have heart disease, we want to prevent heart attacks. We want to prevent damage to the heart muscles, because once those damage has occurred, even though they may improve, they will never be 100% again. So if we can do something to detect these processes before they actually cause you to have a heart attack, then you're much better off. And so that particular screening does help to detect whether or not you have some disease of the coronary arteries before you have damage.
So the peripheral scan is $49 and the other heart CT is $99. So I call your physicians, be a part of this promo. If you don't have insurance, or it seems like it's at a pretty reasonable price for those who may not be able to afford it. Let's look into that and maybe post some information if someone wants to take advantage of this promo that's going on at this time. Well, with that being said, I know you guys hate to hear me say this, but we're at our time. But before we go, I want to definitely make a small announcement. Just want to remind everyone to meet us Friday. That's Friday, February 6th at 11 a.m. Meet us at 11 at the African American History Museum and Educational Center, located at 6914 West North Avenue. Once again, that's 6914 West North Avenue. It's National Go Red Day, so join Congressman Danny K. Davis, State Representative Camille Liddy, State Representative LaShawn Ford, County Commissioner Tara Stamps, Loretta Hospital, and many additional healthcare professionals while we are taking a stand against heart disease, because losing one woman is too many. The Hour of Power Awareness Rally, Friday, February 6, 2026, and that's at 11 a.m. at the African American History Museum and Educational Center, 6914 West North Avenue. For any additional questions, please give our office a call at 773-533-7520. Well, Dr. Miller, you're until next Monday. What would you like to share with our community until next Monday?
Well, we started off talking about the effect of the cold weather on our skin, and I'm going to probably end up by until my next Monday is going to really be about cold is for real. It's not it's not a plaything. I was out actually this past week, I think on Friday, doing some work outside, and stayed out there a little bit too long instead of going in, and noticed I didn't get any permanent damage, but your fingertips and your toes, they will actually pain you when they really get cold, because we talked about that it causes constriction of the vessels, so you're not getting the blood flow. So really take care of yourself in this cold weather. Make certain that if you don't have to be out there, don't be out there. But if you really need to be out there, make certain that you dress properly and that you cover up, and that you drink some hot tea or whatever, hot chocolate before and after, to keep your body and help it to function out there in these cold conditions, because this is no joke.
Outstanding. Well, thank you so very much, Dr. Miller. Dr. Graham, you're until next Monday.
Well, I'm really struck with Nikki Glass's story. This occurred to a healthy woman. This wasn't somebody who'd been smoking 2 packs a day. This wasn't someone with uncontrolled diabetes. This wasn't someone who's been eating red meat, and chomping down pizzas all the time. This is something where she's like an innocent bystander. She had nothing to do with this, and this just happened. And it really speaks to the value of seeing a physician, having a relationship, someone who can identify what's going on and solve this mystery. I think it also speaks to education, because this has been studied, it's been published, there's history on it, so people know how to manage it. So again, this is the value of the education and the value of the relationship.
Absolutely.
Outstanding. Want to say hey to Mimi Ward, who's here with us. We also want to say hello to Maria Bailey Mohammed, who is here watching us just as well. And we want to say hello to President Sanders. That's David Sanders of Malcolm X College. Well, Joe Harrington, you're until next Monday.
Well, I've got two, Nikki, if you'll allow me. The first, and I spoke about this at Apostolic Faith. Pardon me?
I said absolutely.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, I actually used this in a talk I gave several years at because it struck me, and it's the Gospels of Matthew, Mark, and Luke. They all, and it's mentioned 7 times, but I'm going to do Matthew 9:22, and it really reads, "Daughter, be of good comfort; thy faith has made thee whole." It speaks to the issue of faith relative to health. And I think that's something all people can take home. But one of my favorite gospels is James 2:14, and that's what I'm going to end with. Faith without works is dead, and everybody can figure it out for themselves.
Well, you know what? Between you and Deacon Miller, Deacon Dr. Bishop Miller over here, you all gonna take us in every opportunity you get. So now I'm gonna have to start calling you Apostle Harrington. All right. Well, Nikki, this is the opportunity where we take a moment just to talk to our viewers really quickly and tell them what to anticipate next Monday. What do you want to leave them with until next Monday? What do you want to put on their minds until next Monday?
I think the biggest thing for me is knowing we don't all know CPR, and we should. No longer do you have to do mouth to mouth. You can learn CPR in 90 seconds. It's called 911 is the first thing. They're going to talk you through the rest. But all you have to do is hands-only CPR at this point. So as long as you keep the heart pumping until somebody gets there, that's all we need. So I would encourage your listeners to learn CPR. And if they don't know it, check out hands-only CPR. You can figure that out on your own. Be that one
Absolutely.
person that's going to save the person you love.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Just want to remind everyone once again to join us on Friday. Well, Congressman, as always, take us home.
Well, given the fact that we are kicking off Black History Month, African American History Month, how many of the days you call it month to celebrate the Blackness of our being? I guess we can remember that while many problems and issues exist, but if you go back to 1619, since that point, we've made a lot of progress. We have brought about a lot of changes. And it has not been easy. As a matter of fact, James Weldon Johnson said that it was stony the road we trod, bitter the chastening rod, felt in the days when hope unborn had died, but yet with a steady beat have not our weary feet come to the place for which our fathers sighed. He says that we've come over a way that with tears have been watered. We've come treading a path through the blood of the slaughtered. Out from the past to now we stand at last, where the bright gleam of our white stars cast. And I guess until next Monday, let us just rise up with the understanding that we are facing the rising sun of our new day begun. And let us march on till the victory is won. Thank you all. Have a wonderful evening, and we'll see you next Monday. All right. All right.